Over 600 years ago, 24 monasteries were built into the sky to escape persecution. Today, only 6 remain. This is Meteora, Greece.
If we had to describe Meteora in one word, it would be determination. The amount of willpower and focus and time and energy put into constructing these monasteries was beyond impressive. They were built in the 1300s, over 600 years ago, and these structures are just huge and in the most impressive locations.
In terms of our trip to Meteora, we booked our trip as a one-day tour from Athens. We booked it through Viator with the Meteora Thrones tour guide company.
Our tour guide Clement was great, would highly recommend. He was genuinely passionate and super knowledgeable about the topic.
We left our Airbnb around 7 in the morning and took an Uber that was about €5 from our Monasteries Airbnb to the St. Larissa's train station. The buses were lined up just across from the train station and left around 8 a.m.
About 2 hours in after the bus departed, we had our first stop at a rest stop where we ate breakfast. After that breakfast, we had about another 2 hours before we got there.
We got to the town of Kalambaka around 1 p.m. and we had a lunch there that was included with our tour. It's also important to remember that the monasteries do have a dress code. Men have to wear shirts that cover up their shoulders, and they also have to wear pants. And women have to wear skirts or dresses that cover up their knees, as well as cover up their shoulders.
Another thing to keep in mind is the monasteries cost €3 for admission, and they only take cash. So if you're going to 3 monasteries, make sure you have €9 per person in order to get in. Once we got there, just looking out the windows of the bus, you could just see these structures starting to emerge on these cliffs. Incredible, and beyond impressive how the monks were able to build these structures over 600 years ago.
I also really enjoyed seeing people actively rock climbing, not on the structures that had the monasteries, but on nearby structures. It was really cool to see people scaling such giant things and really provided a lot of perspective. The first monastery we stopped at was called the Great Meteoran Monastery. It's the oldest and largest monastery. It was built in 1350 AD and is about 1,300 feet off of the valley floor. One thing that was really cool when we went there was 2 of the monks started singing in their main church, and you weren't allowed to film there, but it was super cool to see the beautiful artwork along with their song. Our next stop was the Meteoran Monastery. One thing that's really cool about this monastery is that when it was built, there was a law that churches had to be built in less than 30 days. So the 2 brothers who made it spent 22 years hauling all of the materials up to the surface of the rock, and then just 20 days actually constructing it.
Apparently hauling the materials up to build doesn't actually count as building, so the clock didn't start until they started assembling all the material.
The next monastery that we went to was called the Barbara Rusino Monastery, and it's an all-female monastery. One thing that was really cool about this monastery is that Gordon Ramsay was actually there a few years ago for the honey and jam that they make on site. This was the end of our tour in terms of going into the monasteries, but we were still able to see the rest of the monasteries from the outside, including St. Nicholas and St. Stephen's. St. Stephen's is the other all-female monastery. One fun fact about the St. Stephen's Monastery is that the youngest nun there is actually only 19 years old. Our guide said he actually prefers to go there over the Barbarousino Monastery because it's a lot bigger. However, it was closed on Mondays. Each of the monasteries has a date every week that they're closed, so if there's one that you're especially interested in going inside of, make sure to check your calendar in advance.
The final monastery that we went to was the Holy Trinity Monastery, and it was actually the setting for a James Bond movie.
The monks, however, didn't agree to have their monastery in the movie, and so they threw rocks at the helicopters, and the only shots of it in real life were actually from really far away because they were so opposed to it being filmed there.
Towards the end of our trip, after going inside 3 monasteries and seeing the outside of 3 others, we had our final stop at a rocky cliff formation where we got to go outside and look across the whole valley, seeing some monasteries off in the distance. This was probably one of my favorite moments of the day, where we just got to sit outside for 20 minutes and take photos, breathe in the air, and just take in the sunset.
After that, we headed back to the town of Kalambaka, which is a gas station where we had a quick stop for a snack before getting back onto the coach bus to take us back to Athens. Halfway on the trip back to Athens, we had another stop, same place we stopped for breakfast, to have dinner, and then we got back to Athens around 10:30 at night.
It was a long day, but totally worth it, and it really helps to take a tour like this, even though it's not something that we normally do, because driving this as a day trip on your own would have been a lot.
Also, something to note is that if you do go to Greece, that you need to have an international driver's license before renting a car there. We definitely would recommend a stop in Meteora for the nature and for just the amazing things that humans can accomplish. For more information, you can go to our website, familyiswonderful.com, and if you'd like to subscribe, we send out a newsletter 2 times a month with updates on our family travels and tips and tricks we've learned along the way.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.